This episode is brought to you by Mr. Bevers. May your polls ever be better. Check out the link to his channel below. Hello everybody, welcome back to Chain of Commander, your source for general chit chat on the Commander format. This is your Commander-in-Chief, Billy G here, coming to you today to bring you the 5 biggest, splashiest, most pushed mythics to ever see. Oh wait, that's been talked to death, hasn't it? Alright, let's go a little bit off the beaten path then. Let's go over the 5 hidden gems, the 5 best commons that I think are going to have the most likely chance to see EDH play from Zendikar Rising. Now, before we get into this list, I do ask, if you end up liking this sort of content, definitely consider subscribing below. I'd love to have you join us going forward. You know what? There's also a like button, which you can smash. Ow. And a TCG Player affiliate link, so that if you want to buy any of these cards, you can use that link to help out the channel. That'd also be super appreciated. That said, let's get into this list here, why don't we? Now, the first card we have is an effect that everybody agrees is super cool and a lot of fun. It's targeted land destruction. Cleansing Wildfire is 1 in a red. Destroy target land. Its controller may search their library for a basic land card and put it on the battlefield tap, then shuffle their library. You can draw a card. Now, the first thing I compare this to, as many people did, is Ghost Quarter. Because Ghost Quarter does essentially the same thing. It's that whole first paragraph there. Destroy target land. Its controller could find the basic, replace it, blah, 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 blah. With 3 major differences. 1, Ghost Quarter is colorless and can go in any deck. 2, Ghost Quarter is a land, occupies a land slot, and can tap for mana. And 3, Ghost Quarter minuses you a card when you activate its ability. Cleansing Wildfire obviously can only go in red decks, but a lot of land destruction decks are red decks. 2, occupies a spell slot, not a land slot, so it can't tap for mana. And 3, it does replace itself. So, red historically has had issues with card advantage. So losing that 1 card, netting that minus card to Ghost Quarter can be a bit rough. Now, this being a spell slot and replacing itself kind of curbs the edge of that pain, that card disadvantage that red is normally dealing with the targeted land destruction there. But does that make it better than Ghost Quarter? I'm going to say absolutely not. That said, for red decks that are trying to go out there and pop off single lands at a time, I can easily see this being a second copy of Ghost Quarter, if you would. Something that can just go boop, because I think this is now the best targeted land removal spell. Being able to replace itself is just huge. Obviously, there's lands that do it better. Ghost Quarter, Wasteland, Strip Mine. But they're expensive. This is like going to be mere cents. So let's move on. Because the next thing we have is another red card. Ooh. This one is Up Rubble Fort. 2 in a red for a 0/3 creature wall. It has Defender, as one do, and has Reach. I can reach really high. But it also gives your creatures haste. Crashing Drawbridge from Throne of Eldraine. You guys remember that one? It's the 2-mana one. Super popular because it's a colorless card, can fit in any deck, and can give your creatures haste. However, it did require tapping it to activate it. So you would have to wait your turn cycle, full turn cycle, for it to before you could start using it. Tuk Rubble Fort here, static ability. You get that haste as soon as this hits the battlefield. So let's not compare Tuk to Crashing Drawbridge anymore. Let's compare Tuk Rubble Fort to Fervor, which is now getting close to $3 for all of its printings, which is a 3-mana enchantment that does the same thing. Gives all creatures you control haste. This is an excellent budget replacement to that. And because this is something that you'll probably be able to pick up from a draft pile at your local F&M after their drafts, I can see this being played in a lot of places in place of Fervor for decks that want to have access to that haste. D-ness. Random pauses. Something to consider. Definitely something to consider. Just pure accessibility, I think, is going to set this one off. And because it is essentially a functional reprint of Fervor in the form of a creature, I think we're going to be seeing this in a lot of places. We're going to break away from red now because there are better colors to talk about in EDH. Like white! because we're going to talk about Resolute Strike. Resolute Strike is a 1-mana instant, just costs a single white, that says target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. If it's a warrior, you may attach an equipment to it. Now, +2/+2 until end of turn, that's boring. There's niche cases where simply that will be what you want to use this for. But that second line of text, if it's a warrior, you may attach an equipment you control to it, is huge. 1 mana, instant speed, equipping of anything to a warrior. Now, it needs to be a warrior, so options are not as wide as you might like. But let's look at things like Miri Weatherlight Duelist. She's a warrior. Imagine taking your Colossal Hammer and on turn 5 just being like, boop, that's on Miri now. That's kind of crazy. You got a big old commander damage smashy thing now with a huge hammer. Cats with hammers. Do you think it's a claw hammer? Yeah. No. Bad jokes aside, I can easily see this being played in a lot of equipment decks because, like I said, 1 mana, instant speed, equip anything is pretty much a big deal. The deck needs to be built around it, but I can see it getting in there. We're going to move on to some better colors in EDH now. Toss the salt below, Boros players. Oblivions Hunger. This is 1 and a black for an instant. Target creature you control gains indestructible until end of turn. Draw a card if it has a +1/+1 counter on it. This really feels like it should be a white card, though, doesn't it? It gives things indestructible. That's pretty white. Cares about +1/+1 counters. That's pretty white. And it can draw you a card. Oh. Okay, I see why it's not white. That said, there are a lot of decks where this can just easily slide on into as protection for your commander and stuff like that. Like anything like Tayam, Luminous Enigma, or Dagadar the Adamant. Decks that care about getting 1/1 counters on their creatures in the first place can just slide this guy right in there as protection that will most of the time also replace itself and be really, I think, very versatile in terms of your use there, because giving something you control indestructible is never a bad thing. Unless they're exiling everything, then it's just not that great. That said, we got one more black card for you here today. One more card completely, happens to be black. It's probably the card that when you clicked on this, you thought, oh, this is going to be on the list for sure. Because guess what? It is. And that is Feed the Swarm. Feed the Swarm is 1 and a black for sorcery. Destroy target creature or an enchantment an opponent controls. You lose life equal to that permanent's converted mana cost. Now, black's always been able to destroy creatures, but what's new about this one is that it can also destroy enchantments. Wizards has now gone on the record saying red has always been able to destroy enchantments, artifacts. Red has always been able to destroy artifacts, but cannot destroy enchantments. So they're fine with swapping it for black, where black can now handle enchantments, but not artifacts. So we're expecting to see more of this effect going forward, but for now, they didn't give us any light thing to play with here either. Despite being a sorcery, it is incredibly aggressively costed at 1 and a black to destroy any creature or enchantment, and I could see this thing being played for a while as possibly the outright best version of this card. But we'll have to see what Wizards comes up with this one. This is the first step in a lot of cards coming forward that will have this sort of effect in black. So for now, I do see it getting put into a lot of black decks to kind of handle enchantments. I'm excited to see where it goes. I don't have a deck for it yet, but someday I'll build a black commander deck. I don't have any black commander decks. I should probably work on that. That said, that was my list for today. I hope you all enjoyed it. Like I said at the beginning of the video, that call out to Mr. Bevers. Thank you so much, Mr. B, for the shout out earlier, the love. It was greatly appreciated. If any of you haven't checked out his content, he is a YouTuber, does primarily pack openings, but he's been a YouTuber I've been watching since he started his channel. So check out his link to his content below. Just tell him I say hi. While you're down there, like I said, subscribe, like, use that TCG Player affiliate link. Beyond that, I thank you very much for joining me today. If you have any cards or commons that you are pumped to play from this set, let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. There were a lot of commons that definitely got overshadowed by Lotus Cobra and Omnath and everything else that's going to end up getting banned as standard. No more negative Nancy. Thank you very much for joining us. I'll catch you guys in the future.